Hello and welcome to day 2 of the GatherVerse Middle East Tech for Humanity Summit. My name is Russell. I'm the Director of Partnerships at GatherVerse. And what an amazing 2 days it's been so far. Day 1, we had, I think it was over like 5-6 roundtables, something like that. And day 2 has been amazing as well. But today, or should I say this roundtable, anyway, at least, we have 3 amazing guests with us, and we're going to be talking about in this roundtable discussion, building responsibly, empathy, mindfulness, and leading a better human-centered innovation. So what we're going to do, panelists, is we're going to do a 30 second or 60 seconds introduction from each of you. And then from that, we'll then go straight into the questions. So we'll start with Stefania, then we'll go to you, Professor, and then Sebastian. So please kick us off, Stefania.
Thank you so much, Russell, for welcoming. I'm super delighted to be here again in GatherVerse. So as you well said, my name is Stefania Brunori. I work in the intersection between personal branding, leadership, and purpose, all embedded into the current world, which is technology-driven, and aligning forces for a more human leadership at the end of the day.
Stefania, it's a pleasure to have you with us again, and thank you for joining us once again as well. Professor, this must be our 4th or 5th time now, so please introduce yourself to people who don't know who you are.
Thank you for inviting me here. I'm sure I'm audible this time perfectly. So first of all, this is a happy Puja to all of you. This is from India, from Kolkata, and we're celebrating Durga Puja. Today, I'm sure you all have heard. My name is Shishor. Currently,
we're having audio issues again, Professor. I'm not sure what's going on there. So last but not least, Sebastian, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sebastian Kober. I'm the founder of Beyond Comms. I'm a communications consultant, an artist, a classically trained singer, and theater director. So my work sits at the intersection of arts and business and looking at how artistic crafts and artistic sensibilities can create more human-centered businesses and communications. And I think of my practice as a way of kind of a laboratory practice, working with clients and helping them develop campaigns and communications that highlights how they can best connect with the different audiences that they hold and all of their different stakeholders.
Thank you for joining us, Sebastian. And if you could just mute your microphones, that'd be great. Thank you. I just hear the background a bit, Sebastian, but no problem. Anyway, so here we go. So question 1. So we're going to start with the first question. And in this question, it says, what does responsible innovation look like when humanity is at the center? So Stefania, we'll start with you, and then Professor will come to you after. And also, Professor, if you can just mute your microphone, we'll get you to introduce yourself in just a second.
Thank you, Russell. So how would the responsible innovation look like when the humanity is at the center?
Yeah.
I think the first thing that we can ask is, instead of can we do it, which is what we've been asking till now, the question is if we should do it and for whom. So that means being responsible from the beginning. So it's not a question if we can, because of the technology being available or having the infrastructure, having the talent or having the tools, but really considering pre-launching that innovation, if we should, what is the impact that is going to have in humanity? And we are in a moment where the end consumer really values those companies, those products, those services that are aligned with their values. The new generations are really committed with a more responsible practice in different angles, and that is going to happen as well with the technology. So the primary metric of success in that way of thinking should be more the human well-being, the human impact that is going to have that innovation, rather than only what is going to be the shareholder value and what is going to be the profit. I'm not saying that it has to be only based on humanity, but for sure, a brand and the leaders that are on those brands cannot be defined by economic success anymore. Yes, as well with the impact and the ethics of what is going to be launched.
No, I mean, I completely agree. And I think if humanity's at the center, I think human values are going to be prioritized, right? I think AI will align with human values. Well, that's hopefully, of course, but we don't know what's going to go in the future. But I think, if human values are at the center of all this and making sure that, it's ethical, making sure that it's safe, making sure it's responsible, making sure it's trustworthy, all these, terms that we use within the AI space, if we can make sure that everything is aligned with that and at the center, having the humans at the center of this, then fingers crossed, so to speak, the AGI and ASI would be great for us, right? So that's just kind of like my, I guess, personal opinion to add on top of yours, Stefania.
Mhm.
And Professor, please could you introduce yourself, and we'll see if your audio has been fixed now. So please do introduce yourself.
Okay, so I think now I am audible. Russell, can you hear me now?
Yes, there's a little bit of like lag there, but please try and introduce yourself.
Okay. So first of all, happy Puja to you all. Today actually I'm from India, from Kolkata, and we are celebrating Durga Puja. I'm sure you all have heard. So all of you, your family, the Puja wishes from my end. I'm Dhrubashi Sarkar, currently associated with NSIHM Knowledge Campus as a professor. For the past 28 years, I've been teaching research and academic leadership. My aim, my motivation is to make the future generation industry ready. So now coming to your point, that the first point that you have raised. So responsible innovation is not merely about.
You're still having technical difficulties, Professor. I'm not sure what's going on with your audio. It seems to be jumping in and out. I don't know if there's some sort of connection issue with your Wi-Fi. I don't know that there's something going on with. I mean, last time it was great. This time it just seems very bad. It might be the Wi-Fi. It may be your microphone. Do you want to just jump off stage quickly, see if you can sort it out, and then come back on, and then we'll see if it's working again. If that's all right.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Professor. Sebastian, please jump in, and what are your thoughts on the what does responsible innovation look like from your lens, Sebastian? And when humanity is at the center, do you agree with me? Do you agree with Stefania, or do you just have your own opinion?
I think it's a mix of all of yours. Similar to what Stefania was saying, and for me, it starts at what is the purpose. So what is the purpose of this innovation? And that can be anything, right? It can be, I want to make millions of dollars, and fine, then you embrace that purpose and you go with it. I wouldn't necessarily call that responsible. But if we're talking about responsibility, it's sitting at that intersection of really understanding how this innovation will impact not only humanity, I would say, but also the world, looking at how it impacts our ecosystems, how what will be the long-term impact of this 5 to 10 years down the line. And I think that's not a question that leaders have been asking themselves enough, or often enough, because it's more about the short-term gains, economic gains that they've been pursuing. So for me, it's about creating intentional spaces, and a space before you jump into saying we can do this, let's do it, is exactly what Stefania was describing. Ask questions, talk to your stakeholders, talk to the people that are going to be impacted by this innovation. And I know that slows things down a little bit, but I think we've been operating at such an incredible speed of innovation that a certain slowing down is not going to necessarily hinder kind of the economic impact that you can have for your company or for your business. So, and having a conversation takes 15 minutes with some good guided questions to gather some input and responses. So I think that idea of a pause and that idea of space is really important when we're looking at responsibility and responsible innovation.
I can tell you this, Sebastian. I think things have anything been going quicker now. I mean, we just had Sora 2 yesterday. We're seeing Nano Banana literally less than a month ago. Thinking about all the new models and everything coming out. things are just getting faster and faster and faster. So as much as I agree with you, Sebastian, does it look like things are mostly going to slow down? By the looks of it, no. If anything, it's going to keep speeding up, and God knows what's going to come out in the next couple of months. Honestly, I was very surprised about Sora 2, and just the incredibleness of the videos and how real it is, and you can't even see the difference between it's like film level quality, and you can even put yourself, like I can have Sebastian inside that film, right, and make multiple clips of you synchronously, like back to back to back, and I can just it's just honestly I think it's crazy in kind of what they've done. So if anything, I think it's going the opposite way. So let's kind of like jump into the next question now, though, which is, where does mindfulness meet technology in a fast-paced world? So, Stefania, we've just spoken about Sora 2 and how things fast are going. So, what are your thoughts on this question in particular?
Well, this is one of my favorites, because part of what I do in that intersection is teach mindfulness for leaders. So I've experienced the benefits of mindfulness when working in fast-paced environments, like when I was working for Nokia, which was tech-driven. And what I'm putting that context is because of the following. We usually think that mindfulness means that we are slowing down and that it can make progress be slow, but it's absolutely the opposite. By going too fast, our brains, and especially now in the moment where there is an excess of content creation, we are saturated, we receive messages through many different channels. This oversaturation doesn't allow us really to process the information mindfully, which at the end of the day, mindfulness, what means is one thing at a time, paying attention of what we have in front of us.
100%.
And that, of course, has an impact on technology, in the sense that if you are doing a mindful design, you are really focused on understanding the customer needs, understanding what is the best way, and even taking a step back before that, thinking if there are any users that we are leaving outside our picture, let's put it this way. So this pause is actually what allows us later to go faster when needed. What we cannot do for innovation is being only go, fast, because we can process and we cannot design processes, products, services in that way. And by the way, at the end of the day, this can be worse, but the studies also show that in the working spaces where our mindfulness programs already working, this can reduce the burnout on a 25%, which means people are going to be more productive. And we know that it's always better to have someone inside the company that knows what you are doing, rather than keep on hiring new people because the people are burned out and they are leaving. So it is about the intention, taking that pause to be intentional, to understand, to redesign, to recalibrate, and then go as fast as you want and can. But we need those pockets. I call them like the fire cuts, right? That we need. Okay, let's stop. Let's create this world. Let's think. Let's rewire everything that we've learned, and then let's continue. But mindfulness is essential, even more in such a quick world that we live in. I don't know what others think.
No, I agree, and I think like slowing down yourself personally when it comes from a mindful standpoint, I think that's obviously extremely important for sure. But I just think of like when it comes to your mind with AI and basically like the changes in what it makes within your brains and your brain cells and everything like that, and when it comes to the science side of your mind, so to speak, we don't really fully comprehend and understand the complications when it comes to the AI aspect of that, and because of that, it's kind of like we can do our stuff and play our role within it, but like, what is the tech's role in it, like as in the tech companies, or what is the AI's role within all this too? And we I think we've got to think about basically like our relationship and our interactions with the AI to make sure that we do have mindfulness at the center, like how you're saying, so that we can stop, our minds and our brains from changing, so to speak. I don't know what your thoughts on that, Stefania, but I just kind of wanted to add to really what you're saying, really.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share something quick that I was sharing today on LinkedIn. It's a very silly example, but just to make it fast, I was using AI to show how they can propose you outfits. In my case, it was for a workshop for startups, okay? And I was just exaggerating a bit, saying that today I got upset with AI because the pictures and the outfits that was giving me were like an old auntie, okay? But so if in terms of AI, we just get the information, copy, paste, and launch, we are going to fail. Then I took the following example, which was I gave the right information about my vibe, my energy, the image that I want to project, who is the crowd, how is going to be the environment, and then I showed the difference. This is very silly, is AI for personal branding, but if we amplify that, is exactly what you were saying. So those spaces to stop, to think how technology or AI in this case is being used, and then having our brain to slow down, because the machines, what we want the machines is to be more productive, to be faster, which is fantastic. So we need to be the ones that will force the process to slow down and to recalibrate. And of course, having different opinions, but then probably we can discuss that later.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, Stefania, and thank you very much for sharing everything. And it is very interesting, and even some of the comments we're getting as well. Zone Zero, for example, she is saying that mindfulness is so lacking in big tech, and Captain Walker, she's even saying that we should be amplifying humanity. So, people are sharing their thoughts there. So, Professor, I think we have solved your issue now, I believe, from what I've been told. So let's give you a try once again. Do you want to try and introduce yourself one last time?
Okay. I think you can hear me right now, right? Is it okay?
Oh, this is so much better, Professor. What have you done? It's like magically become like it's like you've waved a wand or something. This is great.
Okay, so thank you. So first of all, I'm from Kolkata, India, and we are celebrating Durga Puja here. So Puja greetings to all of you, all the esteemed panelists, along with the Russells to you. So
greetings.
So thank you very much for inviting me to this session. I am working as a professor at NSHM Knowledge Campus, Kolkata. I am in this profession for more than 28 years, and my passion is to make the future generation ready, who will be capable to use AI for the social good. That is my motto that you can tell. Okay, so to address the your second question that you have raised, it's a
please do share your thoughts, Professor. Yeah, sorry, please do share your thoughts.
So first of all, mindfulness is the cause that gives purpose to our progress. This is what I discuss with my students, and then it actually mindfulness reminds us something that why we are building, for whom we are building, and definitely with what consequences. So it actually bridges the gap between the speed and sensitivity, two things which are very much crucial nowadays, because as we are introducing technology in our daily lives, is becoming much more faster. So definitely there's a gap between the speed and the sensitivity. So that ensures our pursuit of innovation is grounded in the human values. It must have some ethical reasoning and definitely the long-term impact. So by embedding mindfulness reflections into every stage of innovation, from ideation to suppose development, we make sure that technology enhances the human life flourish, and definitely is going to support the human lives other than competing with anything. Look, in end of the day, why whenever we refer something as a progress due to technology, progress due to some sort of revolution, it's only to make human lives better. So until or unless we can make human lives better, we cannot tell that we are progressing. And here, the mindfulness plays a major role, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for sharing, Professor. And there was a couple of issues when you were talking there, but we heard the majority of what you said that time, so it's a lot better. I don't know if it might be your headphones that you might be wearing or something, but there was some technical difficulties there. A bit of intimate, as Christopher was just saying. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And Lynn, welcome to the stage. It's good to have you with us. And now that you're back from your technical difficulties, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody once again?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me back. It's a comeback for me. And yeah, things happen. And I'm ready. And thank you for even the panelists who are here. And I'm grateful to even share this discussion on mindfulness. Yes, thank you.
That was the quickest introduction that I've heard all day, Lynn. But Lynn is also the Director of Communications at GatherVerse as well, and has been a long-term team leader and director with GatherVerse. So, and I'm also Director of Partnerships as well. So she is my fellow colleague and fellow person in crime, so to speak. So on that note, let's get on to the next question, and we're going to have over to you, Sebastian. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you, of course. Which is, the question is, how do empathy and mindfulness contribute to responsible innovation? So you heard myself and Stefania speaking, Sebastian. So again, please share us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the empathy and mindfulness working together is what really creates the conditions where our human needs can emerge and be understood. So I think that empathy without mindfulness really is more performative in a way. If you're not able to be present in the moment, sitting with the person who you're speaking to, or with the constituency that you're with and the stakeholders, and you're able to really kind of gather their input and understand their perspective, it's just performative. So I think that that mindfulness is really, really crucial, and that leads to the responsible innovation. I think that without being able to understand others and understand their experiences and be able to step into their shoes, we're not going to be able to innovate responsibly. And I think mindfulness creates a crucial role in that.
Do you think that's also, Sebastian, before you mute your microphone, do you also believe that is also empathy too?
Yeah, I think that empathy is crucial. Like when it comes to responsible innovation, responsibility for me means that I like this idea of you're able to respond instead of, I think a lot of people are stuck in this reactive mode. As you were saying, Russell, very early on, we're not going to be able to change the pace of innovation of these companies.
Correct.
It's going to go faster and faster, and that's fine, and that's something we can accept, or we have to. But what we can control is our response to it, and that's, I think, where the responsibility is as well. The ability to respond. I love that someone reframed that for me a long time ago. You have the ability to respond and not be reactive. And that's where mindfulness and empathy really plays that kind of crucial role in sitting together, taking a moment, being present, as Professor was saying, understand what, who, and why, and then you're able to move forward and innovate responsibly.
No, I completely agree, Sebastian. And you can. There's only a certain amount of things you can control personally yourself. Anything outside of your control, you have no control over that. So, completely agree with you on that. And Lynn, let's get your thoughts, because I'm very interested to get you involved. Which is when it comes to empathy and mindfulness and responsible innovation. You've seen multiple GatherVerse events, you've been on multiple roundtables, speaking about mindfulness and stuff. So what is your personal opinion on all this, Lynn?
Yeah, when it comes to empathy, for me, I always think that empathy is the principal thing when it comes to innovation. And I totally believe if you want to innovate for yourself, this is for yourself. You have to be empathetic with yourself. What do I want? For example, if it's Russell, what do I want with this product? It's for me.
Mm-hmm.
You're empathetic with yourself. Now, let's think when it comes to the whole public or globally. What does the public want to hear? What do they want? Do they need what I'm innovating? So for me, if you can be empathetic on yourself, that means you can also be empathetic with the people you're innovating for. And it's my encouragement for all innovators. And I have seen the leaders who come here at GatherVerse, including the ones we have here, and all the startups founders and the business leaders. All of them have one thing in common, and it's empathy. So it's us sharing out as the GatherVerse community, telling the world, hey, empathy is the principal thing to innovate when it comes to the humanity first approach. And that is what brings along mindfulness and responsibility. So I think it's a twin combination, or it's a cousin. This is a cousin's affair. Empathy, mindfulness, and responsibility. This is a cousin's affair, and they go hand in hand.
I agree so much there. And Lynn, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And it also makes me think, when it comes to human values, when it comes to humanity itself, and it also goes back to the first question which we had, which was about humanity being at the center of innovation. So at the end of the day, humanity is the one that technically is building AI. So humanity also has a responsibility to innovate that too. So let's go on to the next question, which is, and before we do that, actually, Zone Zero, she mentions the ability to respond and not be reactive, which she was saying about how we were speaking about earlier. And Salvation says, such an insightful panel. I completely agree, Salvation. So thank you for your comments there. So the next question is, how can empathy be measured within innovation practices? So this goes back to the first panel that we had earlier as well, when we're talking about benchmarks and standards, etc. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Stefania, and then also, Professor, we'll try your audio once again and see if it is working. So Stefania, over to you. How can empathy be measured within innovation practices?
Okay. I'll reply to that, making a bit of a turn, but
Sure.
It will come back as a circle. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
So when you were talking, and I think it was Sebastian who was talking about, yes, it was Sebastian, who was talking about that mindfulness increases empathy. I don't know if it was with these words, but it was on that line. When we talk about emotional intelligence, obviously the self-knowledge and knowing about ourselves is the first step. And that comes through being very present, slowing down, listening to ourselves.
Yes.
So we can only achieve that empathy if we are able first to know ourselves and to slow down and to have the time really to listen the others. Now, second part of the circle.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm seatbelted in here. I'm seatbelted in. So I'm ready to go.
Sometimes what happens is when people listen about mindfulness, empathy, emotional intelligence, they say, yes, but that doesn't work with CEOs. That doesn't work with leaders, because at the end of the day, we want to be productive. Okay, then ask Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft, why he's practicing mindfulness. Ask Adriana Huffington, which is the CEO of the Huffington Post, why she's practicing mindfulness. Ask Steve Jobs. Well, sorry, we cannot ask him. But Steve Jobs was also a practitioner of mindfulness. And there are so many other examples that we can jump to understand that people in tech themselves are practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
And that makes them a more conscious leaders, which leads to empathy. Now, how do we measure that? It comes back to the leaders. You wouldn't be able to measure that if the leaders inside an organization are not really committed with emotional intelligence, with empathy, with inclusion, with diversity being some of the KPIs. Now,
Right.
empathy right now, I don't think they have found a way to measure how high or low we are on empathy rather than different questionnaires. But
Okay.
if we measure it in a different angle, like if the product is equally usable, safe, and respectful for every different group of customers, then we can measure the empathy in a different way in innovation, because it is true that at the end of the day, they need numbers. For example, in the mindfulness or emotional intelligence workshops that many of us deliver, they click, the leaders, the CEOs, the managers, they click really with it when they see the numbers, and they can understand how the teams perform higher when XYZ happens. So with innovation and empathy needs to be the same, and in a way of doing that is understanding that empathy can be part of the strategy and linking it to diversity, inclusion, and making sure that any product and service is really safe and is very usable from each of the different groups, segments, call it whatever, depending on which department of the company you are at.
No,
so that was the full circle to
that was fantastic, full circle. I really like that. It was a big roundabout, that one, but it was a great roundabout. So but no, honestly, I think I think you have a very good point. And also it could be just as simple as a feature that you add, right? That's just all about mindfulness. It could be just a certain section on the website. It can also be a specific app create internally within the organization itself that you can use to measure mindfulness, so to speak. So there's a lot of ways in which you can do that for sure, Stefania, and I completely agree with 100% what you're saying. So thank you for sharing that. And Professor, let's see if your audio is good now. So we'll try once again. What are your thoughts on how can empathy be measured within innovation practices?
Okay. Thank you, Russell, for the great question. I'm sure now my audio is okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. So look, while we are judging the empathy, that is basically qualitative in nature. All of us we know, although now a few parameters came to judge in quantify, but then generally it's a qualitative measure. But then it can be measured through impact indicators and the participatory feedback loops. So for your empathy, what are the impacts that you have? We can have certain indicators, and then who are participating from their feedback loops. So I'll give you an example. For example, we can assess how well a product addresses user pain points, the inclusiveness of the design process, the diversity of the voices involved, or the emotional satisfaction reported by the users.
Okay.
So definitely,
so feedback.
Whenever you are selling a product, definitely you can take all those.
Yeah.
And then you can have a regular engagement with the end user, the co-creation sessions you can have, and then you can have some studies to measure the empathy. So not just it's a feeling, but it's a tangible outcome, I think, which reflects how well a solution, maybe a product, or even maybe a service, it's going to resonate with those it serves. This is in my opinion, whatever I think, that how can you connect empathy with innovation practices.
No, it's interesting. Like, for sure, I agree that feedback is extremely important. It's a great way to be able to measure that. You could look for certain keywords. You can look for just how many people are that you know how you get like the smiley face things. One that's really sort of happy and then one that's really sad. There's great ways in which to be able to measure it. So I completely agree with you, Professor. And Lynn, let's bring you into this discussion because we spoke about empathy, we spoke about mindfulness, We spoke about humanity being at the center. How do we balance ambition, speed, and competition with care for people and the planet? Because as a very good co-founder of mine at Just Verify says that two things can be true at the same time. One is safety and one is innovation. So what are your thoughts, Lynn?
This is an interesting question, and it's something every leader has to really sit down and think about it. And every person who is working towards an innovation or something, there's need for speed, definitely. You can't afford to slow down in this era of AI.
True.
And of course, there's need for care. And then there's ambition. There's that part where I also need to raise $1 million like my fellow competitor. There's that ambition, right? So how do you balance that with care? I believe if your foundation from the word go was the care for humanity, balancing with all this ambition and speed wouldn't be the hardest task. But if your foundation, your reason, your why, there's so many people who ask, what was your why? Why did you do this? Why did you start here? But if your why was to beat your competitor, your why was to raise this amount of money and exceed it, your why was to be the fastest, then you will lose the intention for care and people and, of course, the planet. I come to think of that way. Your foundation. What is your foundation? Why did you do this? So if your foundation is right, your speed will also be right, and your ambition will also be right. And I also believe that in this era of speed, sometimes slowing down is also a great way to go in speed. Here in Kenya, there's a saying in Swahili, you might know the direction and you might not have the speed, but you're on the right track. You have the direction, you have the speed, you're still on the right track. But if you go with speed and you don't know the direction, you are far away astray. So
completely agree.
Yes, so as long as you have your guiding compass as humanity, I'm good with you, and that is a perfect balance.
Agreed. And starts with the foundation, structure, how, like, ambition. Of course, you got to have ambition personally yourself. Speed, well, you have to do that anyway. And competition, of course, competition is going to make you faster and speed, so to speak, because we live in the capitalist world, so to speak. So, and when it comes to humanity and human center, within all of this, it's kind of like, okay, how do we still have the human values at the center of all this, and making sure that we still having all this aligned, whilst doing ambition, speed, competition, care, people, planet, like, everything, right? There's just so much that you have to take into account, and it's just a balancing act with all that. So Gabriel just has joined us. So welcome, Gabriel. Great to have you.
Hi, everyone. Apologies for coming in late. I've been listening halfway through the conversation, and it's been great to hear your contributions.
Please, share your thoughts as well. We're just going to bring you straight in. How do you balance speed, ambition, competition, and how do you handle that with the care and the people and the planet and humanity, so to speak?
I think humanity comes first. For me, it's the people, and maybe Lynn will align with me more on this, because we have been brought up with communities, so we always work within a group. It's either through your family, through your your lineage, through your community. There's always a link to somebody, to something, so that we grow in those eccentric circles. So for me, working with Esports Africa News has always been with people on the continent and the diaspora Africans, and it's always identifying either through country, through language, through culture, through food. Typically, Ghana, Nigeria, I've got the best banter. If it's not jollof rice, it's music. If it's not music, it's football. So we've got something going. That kind of thing. And I'm sure Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya have got something going. So there's always some connection, and that's how we balance ambition with humanity. Because irrespective of competition or media or whatever we do, Africa comes first. And Africa is not just a big mass, it's made up of 54 dynamic, creative, special. They're very different people, but yet one very big group. So it's super exciting working in Africa, for that matter. And talking about speed is relative, and I think I go with what Lynn again said, maybe because we're both from the same region, but speed is relative. It's either you're going fast alone or you're going big together, so whichever way we go with it, we grow with the community. We are more inclined to grow big with the community than one person going very fast. I think what we've got in Ghana is if it's one tree does not make a forest, that kind of thing. Literal translation: one tree does not make a forest. And if you're a single person, a single tree standing out there, you're more likely to get cut down by the wood hunter, because you are the best person, you're the best tree out there. So yeah, for us, community is big in everything we do, rather than speed.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts as well, Gabriel, and thank you for joining us. And I think all of that applies within the Middle East too, as well, for sure. When it comes to community, when it comes to humanity, when it comes to everything that you just mentioned there, Gabriel. So I appreciate you joining us. And even though you are late, it's all good. Double thumbs up on that side. Professor, we'll come over to you very shortly because I've got to jump around a few more questions and we've got about literally 8 minutes left. So I want to get some more questions. Actually, we've got less than that now. We've got 5 minutes. So the next question is, how can innovators measure the social and emotional impact of the work? Also, Salvation mentioned, by the way, this is just a quick comment. Salvation said, Gabriel, you got it. And Captain Walker, she says, speed without direction is meaningless. Speed with direction is critical. So thank you for sharing your thoughts over there. So the question is, how can innovators measure the social and emotional impact of the work? Obviously, we've had some measurements that we've shared from Professor, etc. But Stefania, what are your thoughts?
I'll reply to this one quick, without roundabouts. By asking better questions, or by asking different questions. Moving beyond the question of how satisfied are we with the product that you just use, asking more well-being related questions. For example, does the usage of this product increase or reduce your anxiety? Do you feel after buying this service that you want to compare yourself more with others or less? I'm thinking, for example, now on social media, on Instagram. If we were thinking on those well-being questions, we would be more mindful on the type of innovation that we bring on the plate. So it's not just about customers are satisfied or not. Do you feel better with yourself? Are you aligned? Are you proud with the values that you represent when you are using our service? Are you proud of the impact that you are having on the planet when you consume this product? So I would link it definitely to different questions or more questions, and those would be really linked to the well-being, the impact that consuming that product or service has on your well-being.
No, I do agree. And I think questions are crucial, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're in the AI age, so to speak, that's how I call it anyway. Everyone calls it different terms, but in the AI age, they say that you have to remain curious, right? So being curious means asking questions. Asking questions means obviously you can then measure the emotional impact, and then obviously asking the right emotional questions, so to speak, then you can find out what's going on. So I completely agree with you, Stefania. And I'm afraid we literally ran out of time. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to get everyone's input in on this last final question. So this is not a question on the actual deck itself. This is more kind of just my own question that I'm coming up with. So in the age of AI and the innovation, obviously there's so many human values, right, when it comes to the innovation. So I would like for each of you to pick out one of the most important things within human values that you want to see going into the future of the AI age. So we'll start off with you, Stefania, if that's all right. Then we'll go to Professor, Gabriel, Sebastian, and Lynn. So I can only pick one word, so pick very wisely before you jump in. One word of what you want to see with human values in the AI age of innovation. So over to you, Stefania.
One word, inclusion.
One word.
Inclusion
Okay.
in innovation.
That's 2 words, but that's fine. Professor, what are your thoughts? 1 word. And you need to unmute your microphone, please. You've got 1 word, Professor. 1 word and unmute your microphone, please. 1 word of what you're most hopeful for in the AI age of innovation. Like which one human value would you like to see, basically?
In my opinion, it would be sustainability.
Sustainability. Okay. Yes. That's a very good answer. Gabriel, same question for yourself. And unmute your microphone, please.
Empathy.
Empathy. Great. Sebastian, yourself, 1 word.
Diversity.
Diversity. And Lynn, which is your 1 word?
Education.
Education. And on that note, we have to finish things up. So I'm afraid that's it for the GatherVerse Middle East for Tech Humanity Summit Day 2.
Wait, Russell, what's your word?
Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
That's great.
Why did you have to jump on Christopher? Why? My 1 word is trust. Okay. On that note, that is it from us, and thank you for joining us on this last roundtable discussion for Day 2 of the GatherVerse Middle East Tech for Humanity Summit. It's been a fantastic roundtable. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Lynn. Thank you to the team. It's been a pleasure having you all. And make sure you follow everyone on this panel on LinkedIn as well, by the way, because that's one thing I always do. Make sure you connect, link up with each other, talk to each other, etc. And on that note, our Gather was well. So GatherVerse team, over to you. And Christopher will be up next for closing us out. So see you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Happy